Hey all. Hey, I wanted to come back and review and add a little bit more to the conversation or just what I've been sharing and expressing and offering and working with and playing with and being with. And yeah, holding and releasing, letting go of, forgiving, and integrating, transmuting, transforming. All this love for me and we. All this love we be. All this love I am for me. And all this love for we. Because we're all that love for ourselves and each other. And it is about being. And it is about allowing. And it is about changing. And it's about becoming. And it's all those things. And so just learning how to allow and honor the exchange and honor change and be willing to change. Be with that process of change and know that it's right. And know that I have the power, like, to change my own mind. And that's, the only people that can change our minds is ourselves. So that is kind of funny too. Like, we're responsible for our own thoughts and our own actions and our own feelings and our own choices, right? But sometimes we disown that responsibility. And sometimes we pawn it off on someone else because someone else knows better or has more experience or more skill or knowledge developed because they've specifically gone to study those things or whatnot. And that's great that we can all cultivate gifts and knowledge and all of that. But sometimes we're dishonoring ourselves by thinking someone else has the answers when we have the answers. Like, and not that we can't, like, learn, of course, and benefit from someone who has, like, studied and experienced certain things. That's, like, it adds and it contributes and it enhances our own knowledge and like the possibilities that we can be aware of and all of that. So, but what I'm really more referring to is, like, kind of giving our power away and our responsibility away by saying that it's someone else's because they've gone to school for that or they're an expert in their field. And, like, in a certain way, like, that's awesome. Like, they may know a lot about it and they may have a lot to offer and share about, everything they've learned and they know and everything, that they've been a part of and stuff. But sometimes when we compartmentalize things and in this way of being, it's all separate. It's like the one hand can't talk to the other sometimes because they don't even know that they're connected or they're two parts of the same whole. And that's what happens. Like, that's why, we find ourselves where we are right now is because of compartmentalization. And that's mental, that's mental lies, mental eyes. That's like, the illusion partly is seeing everything as separate and not connected and not related. Just much like allopathic medicine in certain ways, where they only look at one part of the body and they don't look at the whole body as a whole, like where that one organ, it is in relationship with all the other organs. And so, like, it can be pretty limiting that way. And that's kind of how we're operating as well. When we see each other as separate and not like organs of or cells of the same being, of the same life force, of the same source. And so, just looking at those things and, been wanting to kind of like talk about some of those things, how we've been unable to see the whole picture or been unable to see certain patterns because of the compartmentalization and the lies that we tell ourselves and the lies that we believe or the lies that we choose to put our energy into or whatever. And so that's okay. It's just like, become aware of it and see that there's other ways of being and there's other ways of seeing and there's other ways of perceiving and there's other ways of receiving and there's other ways of creating and being and becoming and allowing all that we are. And so it is all about that allowance, and that's what's kind of got me on this whole thing. That's what I've been working on for the last, how long? Really, forever, but especially lately, the last couple months had my work cut out for me, and it's been really freaking amazing discoveries, like integrating all these parts that I really didn't know, like I was dishonoring, but like they've been really cool allies to like work with, play with, and honor, and like welcome them, invite them, and like ask them to go to work for me or include them, and allow those parts to be like part of the whole for me in supporting my integrity. Yeah. So it's a brand new way of operating in different ways. And it feels pretty amazing and powerful, but at the same time, it's also surreal and a little bit challenging, but like it's very rewarding and very full. So, yeah, I've noticed a lot of things like about integration of the miser, and that integration of the miser has actually helped balance out my caregiver, which is like also AKA people pleaser, AKA servant, yeah, that kind of a thing. So, really interesting that the miser to me, what I thought the miser was, is totally different. Like the lighter aspect of the miser is to help me set boundaries and to know when to withdraw my energy and to know when to stand up for me and to know when is a time to when is it time to fight? When is it time, for me to be willing to bite, for me to be willing to fight for what's right, for me to protect what I value, what I love, what I appreciate, and my life. Yeah, so life. So it's been super interesting working with the miser and AKA the bitch, AKA the boss, AKA the queen, AKA the ruler, AKA the sovereign, and all of those kinds of parts and all of those in that one aspect. There's multifaceted parts like that can relate and congregate together. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense there. But yeah, with my integration and working through and playing with my inner conflicts that I have, there's been like so much gold in it. Just show up and work with it, be with it, play with it, and allow it and honor it. So I do feel a lot stronger, and I feel more confident now that I have like allowed like the part of me that I always thought was wrong for me to be like the bitch. And just to own that bitch, and just to love that bitch, and praise that bitch, and bless that bitch for being a bitch, and for being what she needs to be, and not messing around with the biz snatch, just, standing up for me, saying what I need to say, asking for what I need, calling out bullshit when I see it, but like using that discernment and restraint. Yeah. Just finding that balance and for harmony, really, for harmony. Not to fight just to fight or just to pick a battle, even though like we have been in that opposition and that conflict energy for a little while, like with Eris and the golden apple that causes the war, and like the jealousy and the comparison and the judgment and the gimme, mine first, me first, and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, like with the disallowance and exclusion, not being included, kind of feeling like those things. Kind of feeling those things like the exclusionary policies of go along or you're not welcome, like a person non grata. So, and dehumanization and all of that, and assumptions, and just condemnation. So, yeah, a lot of that has been interesting to work with because on certain levels, like, it relates to me personally and impersonally. So I can see it in the collective, and I can see it within myself and in my relationships. And so it's been like really interesting to see and look at from all of these multiple perspectives, and see more clearly with insight into that. So one of those animal companions that has been helping me with these archetypal qualities was Badger. And Badger is the boss. Badger number 29. And that's like a really cool animal totem companion, and with some sweet archetypal energies, and really just reminds me that Badger is willing to call in and call on all resources and use anything and everything available. And that's totally inclusivity. That is inclusivity, and that's owning your strength, and that's owning your power, and that's owning like all the resources and all that we have to work with and to receive and to give and to exact a cure with and from and through. So that's pretty awesome. And Badger is a vicious asshole sometimes, and has to be, because that's what he was meant to be and do. You know? So protector of the home and of the hearth, and the link between the inner and outer, and the above and the below, and that's some powerful medicine there. And Badger, thank you, Badger, for being the boss. And I've just needed help with that, owning my power. So because I was always so afraid of becoming a tyrant, or being a tyrant, or overstepping my boundaries, or pushing anything on anyone else. Even though, like, I'm sure, like, over the years in some of my relationships, some probably feel like I have been pushy, but I guess sometimes we can be like that unconsciously, not realizing how much of an agenda we have to push, that we're trying to push on another, instead of like offering something. Maybe we don't understand like that we're being like our own little tyrants by saying, see it my way, and think how I think, and believe what I believe, and act how I act, do as I say, and not as I do. But like, you know, like all those things that we kind of like are blind to sometimes in certain ways. But because I was always so afraid of being pushy, or being a tyrant, or stepping on anyone else, because I know how it felt to me, it crushed my spirit, and I never wanted to become my mother. Like, my mother is a very, very, very loving, giving person and mother. You know, she did the best she could with all that she could, and with all she had, and with all she was aware of, and all she was given, and all she had to work with. But of course, like, you know, we have our generational patterns and karmic stuff, and just wounds and complexes that we operate from sometimes. And we just can't be all things to everyone. So we do the best we can, and that's what we get to do, you know, and get to just allow. But like, some of these things, you know, when I was a teenager and growing up, you know, that's the time where we want to kind of assert our own identity, and we're just going through all these changes, like hormonally, physically, emotionally, mentally, all around, like coming of age. And like that can be a scary time, and just like a really intense time, because we don't even know who we are anymore sometimes. Like we're not a kid anymore, but we're not an adult. And so it's like, I always felt like I was in such limbo, like I can't do this yet because I'm not an adult, but I can't do this anymore because I'm not a kid. And it was just really hard. And I feel like, so we limit ourselves so much because of this silly unsaid, or sometimes said or inherited rules or beliefs or whatever to structure this like control and whatnot.